was more or less that something that should stand out somewhere.
Okay.
I don't know how to get it done, but I want it that, okay, it should not be the industry or something.
Yeah.
It can be, but it will be great if it can just stand out.
Okay. So these are all great answers. And actually, brand is a lot of things, but there is one definition for it. But before I show you the definition, I want to go through what a brand is not. And you'll see a little bit of what people normally think. First, we've got brand versus branding. So when we talk about a brand is not a logo. Logo is part of your branding. It's part of your brand identity. It's the physical thing that you're seeing in front of you. A brand is not a logo, and I get a lot of people, especially in the small business space, coming to me and telling me, I have my brand ready. And what they actually have is a logo and a color palette. And that is not a brand. The second thing is, it's not only for big companies. I've already mentioned I work with online businesses, very small businesses, and defining what their brand is, their brand strategy, and again, not just the logos and the colors, but we're going to get to what the brand actually is. It helps them. It helps them stand out, just like you were saying. It helps differentiate them. It helps build customer loyalty. And this is why I love working on brand first. Branding is also not marketing. Marketing is one thing, branding is another. Branding is more closely related to a position, which is similar to what you were saying. So it's more closely related to a position. And actually, there's a guy who has a really funny quote that I love, and he says, marketing without branding is like winking at someone in the dark. You know what you're doing, but no one else does. And that's the really important thing about knowing what your brand is. So it's not marketing, and it is not what you say it is. Actually, your brand is what other people say about you. And again, there's another quote, I think it was Adam Grant, who said, your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. So given all of that, sorry, one more. Brand is not a product. I think also very often people think, oh, my brand is this. It's the business, it's the product, it's a particular service. It's also not that. So, brand. What is a brand? A brand is actually an emotion. It's an emotion that you're delivering through your business. And this is why, even though we're here to talk about your customer experience and building out a customer experience, we're starting with the brand. Because the customer experience you deliver has to be emotion-led. And if it's going to be emotion-led, we need to know, what emotion do you want to deliver through your business? So that's what it is. It's an emotion. I will give you some examples so you'll start to understand it. So when it comes to defining your brand emotion, you're looking at different touch points. And that's part of the customer journey. We're looking at different touch points of how we're delivering this emotion. If you recall earlier, I said if we don't start with your brand, you can end up with a very disjointed customer experience. And what that means is you might want in your customer's discovery phase to really inspire them. And everything you're doing is around inspiration, whether it's a physical store, whether it's a call center, whether it's an online space, your website, your social media, everything's around inspiration. But then later on, you want to move into like a, oh, we're very supportive, we're here to be your partners, and the whole vibe shifts. And that's what we don't want to do. So again, we're going to come back to this. We're all going to define emotions, but your emotion is online, it's offline, and it's everything from pre-purchase, through to purchase, through to experiencing your product and service, and any post-purchase services you might do. Whether it's loyalty, whether it's customer service, customer recovery, anything that you've got post-purchase. So I'm going to give you some examples. And what we're basically, and this is the exercise, I'm going to hand out some papers in a second, but basically what we're going to do is similar to this. We're going to look at some brand values. So if you have brand values for your business, great. If you don't, you can write a few down. I'll pull up just a few over here. You can take from there, you can Google a few. We can talk about that later. And then we're going to do a brand promise again, and we'll share examples with you. And once we have your values and your promise, we're then going to get your brand emotion. So you'll define your brand emotion based on how you want your brand to look. When we have that, we'll then move on to a little exercise on differentiation and then the customer journey. Does that sound okay so far? All right. So we are looking first. So the question you're going to be asking yourself for like the first half of this workshop, the second half of this workshop when we do the customer journey mapping, is how are we delivering this emotion in this, in the business, in the process. So if you need it here later, I've jotted down a few brand values. I can leave this up here if you want it when we do your exercise. But let me give you some examples. I've picked 2 tech and then 2 cars. And I've picked 2 cars because they're competitors, and I just want to show you the difference between them. But if we look at Apple, Apple's brand values are accessibility, support for education, environmental responsibility, inclusion, diversity, and privacy. Those are their brand values. Their brand promises, it just works. And so what they've managed to do is they've picked a brand emotion. My next example will be a little bit different. They picked a brand emotion, which is innovation. Innovation is not one of their brand values. Personally, I think it's easiest when you have something that just kind of sits in all 3 areas, where it shows up in the brand values, it shows up in the promise, and it shows up in the emotion. So my next example is one like that. But what they've managed to do is their brand emotion is innovation. And I mean, I love Apple, I'm like a big Apple user. But if you think about the way they do everything, from the presentation of their products, their introduction of their products into the world, the way their stores run, everything is different to what people had prior to Apple. And what they also do is they link, and this is what we need to be able to do, they link every single one of their brand values to their emotion. So when it comes to innovation, which is their emotion, if we talk about accessibility, they are using different types of technology to make things accessible and user-friendly for a lot of people. That's how they're linking those two. When it comes to support for education, they are using innovation to find better ways for schools and other educational places to deliver these educational experiences. Environmental responsibility, I know we can debate this, but we can also debate the privacy, but when it comes to environmental responsibility, they are making sure that their products are created in an environmentally friendly way. They use innovative technologies in order to reduce their carbon footprints. I said we can debate this. I see you laughing.
I'm laughing because it's in China. They won't do this.
But also when it comes to privacy, so they've got inclusion and privacy as well. When it comes to privacy, they say they're using innovation in order to find better ways to protect user data. Now, of course, we can debate these, but these are the ways that their brand values and their brand emotion come together. So this is our starting point. I'll go through a few examples, a few others. I probably won't read out all of the links, but just to show you. Airbnb, a tech company. I mean, we all agree that Airbnb is a tech company, right? Okay, so Airbnb.
It's an application, of course.
Yeah, okay, because, people debate these things, but of course it is.
Sarah, you will share this presentation.
You want the slides?
No,
I don't mind sharing them. Yeah, I don't
It's
mind.
good because.
Yeah, you want to, could we strike a deal? Anyone who wants it, I'm going to give you my business card anyway. Anyone who wants it, could you write me a little review about I attended this workshop, blah, blah, blah.
Without the slide.
And I'll send you the slides in
Without the
return.
slide
We'll do an
also-
exchange.
Without the
It's
slide
a
also, we
bargaining.
will write a review.
Thank
It's
you.
not,
She's a businesswoman, a bargain.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
why I write her a review.
but we are not.
If she likes your review, she's gonna send you.
No, I'll send it to you regardless of whether I like it or not. I hope it'll be
Yeah.
good. So with Airbnb, so Airbnb's example is something that I find easier to replicate. Their brand values are belonging, empowerment, trust, and innovation. Belonging, empowerment, trust, innovation. Their brand promise is belong anywhere. And so you can see that they've got the brand value and the brand promise kind of together, and their emotion is also belonging. So you see a thread coming through. Personally, I think if you haven't done this exercise before, and we're going to do it right after these examples, this is the easiest way to do it. Pick one of your brand values that's the most important for your business. Pick that, create a brand promise that, even if you're not using the word, but it kind of resonates with that, and then pick your brand emotion from that. That's going to be easier. But again, they've got ways that they're linking their brand emotion to their brand values. And we've seen things like when it comes to trust, the verified listings, the recommendations, and you can see it, I'm sure we've all looked at Airbnbs. They also offer personalized recommendations, and if you've been searching for something, you'll get an email that says, hey, here are a few other places we recommend. They've also started adding, as of a few years ago, the Airbnb experiences piece. During COVID, they had online experiences. So even when it comes to innovation, they find a way to make people feel like they belong. And we don't even have to travel in order to feel that way, as we saw during COVID. So Airbnb for me is a really great example because it's the easiest one to copy. My next two are not related to tech, but I am going to do a quick comparison of BMW and Mercedes. And the reason why I love comparing these two is because when we look at these two brands, very often, I'm Lebanese, and in Lebanon, you're either a Mercedes person or you're a BMW person. And these two brands are always pitted against each other. But the truth is, they both have very, very different brands. They're both luxury, yes, but BMW is about the driving experience with you in the driver's seat. That's what they're trying to push here. Their brand values are responsibility, innovation, performance, and customer orientation. Their promise is the ultimate driving machine. And everything they do is about offering a thrilling, exhilarating, they've got high-performance vehicles that I drive a BMW. So anyway, they've got high-performance vehicles, they're about the speed, they're about that thrill. So their brand emotion is thrill. That's what they want to deliver. On the flip side, one of their top competitors, Mercedes, has a completely different brand. That's not what they want. They're not after the thrill, they're not after that fast, high-performance vehicle style, get into the driver's seat. In fact, Mercedes likes to position itself as a car that you get driven in. And if you think about everybody who has a driver, they're not being driven around. I mean, of course, you'll see some examples, but let's say the majority want to be driven around in a Mercedes, because that's their positioning. So they are very different, even though the two cars are often compared side by side. Their brand values are tradition, innovation, exclusivity, and quality. And their brand promise is the best or nothing. And they lean on prestige as their brand value, as their brand emotion. So one is prestige and the other one is thrill. And now we see the difference between these two brands. Is this making sense to everyone? Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to first write down a few brand values and your brand promise. I'm going to hand out, it's a very small worksheet. I saw the one you had previous to this. It was a lot bigger. Mine is just two sides of one page. So on the front side, you will see space to write down some brand values. You really don't want to have more than 5, but go somewhere between 3 and 5. I have nothing else to give you, just this. If you need one more paper, you can have one more paper. That's all I've got. No candy.
Okay, then I'm out.
Oh, no. All right, so what I'll do for you is I will pull up. I don't know how well you can see it from there. You might want to get up and come take a look here. But just also as like an inspiration, these are some brand values. If you like these, I can also send you, or you could just visit my website. I have a guidebook of 202 brand values, and they're written in this way. These are pulled out of there. I don't know how many I have here, but like let's say about 40-ish. But yeah, I have 202 brand values in the guidebook. If you want it, go to my website. You can download it from there. These are some examples. So I want you to think about what's important when it comes to the businesses that you have or you're creating. Are you all in like building stages of the business? Or have any of you already launched? Launched. All of you. Oh, amazing. Okay, so maybe you already have your brand values. Or was this, we were in a rush to get the business up, we didn't work on the brand values?
Oh, yeah.
We didn't have money to pay a branding agency.
See, when you're part of an accelerator or incubator program, it's just so rushed that it feels like there's too much pressure to
Yeah.
deliver within 9 weeks of time, you'll forget everything.
Yes, I know. The good news is a lot of the work that I do with my clients, we work on these ourselves. And so I would say maybe about half my clients actually go to a branding agency to get things branded, but the other half, they're able to do it themselves. We don't actually need an agency. So anyway, I'll give you a few minutes to write down between 3 and 5. 4 is a great number. I have 5 for my business, but write down a few brand values. And then if you can think of a promise, and you've got this sheet, you can always continue working on it later. But if you have something that you want to promise to your customers, clients, or if you're B2B partners or anything like that.
So how do you define luxury? Because see, under BMW and Mercedes, you have considered as luxury.
Mhm.
But talk about your own. So that
Yeah.
how do you define it?
So the way I do it is actually neither of those have luxury in their brand values. Okay. So if you look at BMW, it's not one of their brand values.
Yeah.
The closer one is actually Mercedes, where they have exclusivity and quality.
Mm-hmm.
Those kind of hint a little bit on luxury, but they're not really. They don't. Luxury is not one of their brand values. So how do you get to luxury? You get to luxury because you've picked a brand emotion, and from that emotion, we are then delivering experiences that take Mercedes or BMW ahead of the pack. So if we think about the way they, for example, prestige, right? So how do they deliver a luxury experience when their brand emotion is prestige? The two words are very similar. So, the way they could do it is they go, hey, when somebody lands on our website, how does our website look? I actually have never been to the Mercedes website. I imagine it's a dark website, like as in dark colors.
Yes.
Is it?
Yes.
Has anyone been?
Mercedes is.
Okay,
But
so
BMW
that I
is
would
not.
imagine it to be that way. BMW, no, I wouldn't. See, Prestige has a look. Once you know what emotion you want to deliver, it becomes a lot easier. And this is why you end up working with branding agencies to take that emotion and to say, turn this visual. How do I make this look? If you look at, like Apple is a great example. When you go to their website, for example, the way the products load as you're scrolling down the page and seeing the different features, nobody else did that. They were the only ones where things would just kind of come up. They would rotate, But going back to what I was saying about Mercedes, we're looking at prestige. They're both luxury. They're both obviously very high quality businesses, products. And so when we look at Mercedes with its prestige, at every touch point, we started with a website. If you go into the dealer here, the way they should, I mean, maybe Germany would be a better example, the way they're meant to take you in, display the cars, the way they probably, if you decided you want to buy a car, the way they would create that not contract, but your purchase, and all of that has to feel prestigious every step of the way.
So the other sense luxury is part of the value that's perceived by the customer.
Yes, it is. But actually, we're calling it luxury because that's just, we'll very often, I would say maybe 50-50, that we would be able to I didn't tell you it was prestige, you might have gone with luxury, right? But once you know it's prestige, you can see it better.
Yeah.
So my point is, I think Apple's an easy one, Airbnb is an easy one. You might have been able to guess those ones, that the brand promotions were innovation and belonging. But there are a lot of brands where you can't actually guess it. You'll get something in the ballpark. And so we look at BMW and Mercedes both as luxury, but the experiences are very different when you visit their website, look at their advertising, go to their showrooms, experience the actual product, and the difference in luxury comes down to what was their initial brand promotion. That was a difference. Does that make
But I
sense?
have a question, because in this one, you are more referring to B2C. You see, that's why we are able to understand emotions a bit better, because it's linked with us.
Right.
Right? But I would be more interested to see how do we do that in B2B? Because the B guys
Yeah.
doesn't give a care about emotions and everything. It's
But
pure numbers,
there
right?
must be something that they are doing, because I used to work at Emirates Airline, right? Emirates uses Mercedes for their first class chauffeur drive,
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Why would they pick BMW? There is definitely something that they're doing,
Yes.
definitely. And I don't know what it is, because I've never been in the business dealing with Mercedes. But just like I described that B2C experience, there is most certainly a B2B experience that follows the same kind of thinking journey, the customer journey for that.
But we know that why, because the reason why the Emirates guys are able to do it here, why, Emirates is very new Airlines, right? All the other guys
Yeah.
never have done this, neither in US, neither in, and the reason for that is typical cost, right?
Oh, yes, but that's
see
an
the point?
airline decision. That's an airline
No, correct,
decision.
but that's, my question is that, when emotions is more easy when, laptop,
Yes.
iPad, because it's linked with us, right?
Yeah,
So in our case, maybe this is what we need to discover, right?
yeah.
Because we are, for example, doing B2B.
Mhm.
So, when I understand this part, but we'll discover it, right?
So I'm a B2B business, like I obviously
Exactly.
consulting, right? So I'm a B2B business. My brand emotion is around supportive partnership. I didn't tell anyone this. I didn't tell any of my clients this. But there have been several instances where, I'll give you from both sides of my clients, small business clients of mine have said to me, working with you, because in the online space there's a lot of coaching and that's what most people go after. But a few of them said to me, working with you has been really different because it feels like I have a partner in my business. They didn't use the exact same words, but I got that feeling. How? It's in how I pitch what I do for them, the way I design my actual services, and then how I engage with them throughout our partnership. There are things I do that a typical business coach would not do for them. So if they need contacts, I give them contacts. I'll link them up with people. I am responsive to them, obviously not necessarily on the weekends, but during the week they can reach out to me, WhatsApp, email. When we sit down in our sessions, I actually share ideas with them. We can start an Excel sheet, a PowerPoint deck together, and then I share it with them. They get the feeling of partnership through how I work with them, but also how I designed my package. It's been designed to work that way. On the other side, my government clients have said to me, this was most recently, somebody said to me, I have worked, and she's the head of the media office, the Dubai media office. She said to me, I have worked with all of the consulting firms, and you are by far the best consultant I've worked with. Why? Because you give and take. Someone gives an idea. I was running a workshop for them. Someone gives an idea, you build on the idea, you have a discussion, you take it to the next step. That to me is also partnership. If I have a partner in business, that's what I want. Your typical consultant is going to come in, tell you, and walk out. And as I said in the beginning, when I started this business, that's not what I wanted to build. So for me, predominantly, it came in how I create my service, what do you get in that service? You know, what am I putting in? How am I engaging? What channels am I using? How much of my time am I giving? Do I do, you know, worksheets, workbooks? What am I giving in my package, my service, all of that? And how am I engaging with you? So the product, the service, and the actual engagement. Those are my two big places where you'll see that difference. So it also works with B2B. I think we just need to sometimes, I don't know if you're going to get all your answers in today's workshop, but you can keep thinking about it afterwards and find ways to bring this out. Okay, so does anybody want to share? I mean, I don't know your businesses either, so do you want to share any of your brand values, your brand promise? Also, maybe give me a quick highlight of what your businesses are. Does anyone want to go first? Yeah, go ahead. Tell me a little about your business first.
So we have solution organic waste.
It converts what?
Organic waste
Organic waste
into protein.
into protein. Wow, that's cool. All right.
Using insects.
Oh, no.
No, for animal feed.
Oh.
Protein for animal feed.
You're talking to the wrong person.
No, you're good.
For animal feed.
Me?
Poultry eating insects.
So basically, they use
Basically,
insects. That explain it simply.
No, I get it. I know. You're feeding the insects to the animals so that we can eat the animals. Just,
That's animals and insects. Poultry for it's natural. So
I'm guessing this is more environmentally friendly. Okay. Okay, go. No. He's still going. So your brand values.
Brand value, sustainability, tech for good.
Sustainability,
Tech for good.
tech for good, and innovation. I love that. Okay. And your promise?
We welcome the waste in the world.
I feel like the promise could be shorter and punchier. What you're describing is more exactly what you do.
Okay, so we put some kind of machine to play shipping.
Yeah.
Here, organic waste process. We use this organic waste. We transform this organic waste using insects. Because we have a automated process. We rearing insects. And after the cycle, we get the larvae and we transform it into protein from insect oil. This insect oil and protein can feed fish, poultry, animals in general. Okay? So today we have a problem without these materials, and we give a solution to produce these materials using organic waste.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds cool. Yeah. Okay, great. So we're going to move on to the next couple of steps in a second. Do you want to go now?
Sure. So our company is certified environmental life contribution. So we make biodegradable plastics that are at the same price as normal plastic. They have the same qualities as normal plastic. So yeah, so however, to get the idea.
I'm surprised at how you can have a price gap and the same price as plastic.
There are a lot of factors that go into it. Obviously, normal plastics, they don't have people, so we have to for us is bacteria fermentation process. So it eliminates obviously any right product. So that's one of the big cost cuts.
Yeah.
So our brand value is for the tipping. So obviously, like you mentioned, I just want to say something I'm familiar with that here. Sorry. Like focusing on the like customer experience is not really a priority for companies like B2B that necessarily want to focus on. That's why when I went for this workshop today, I was excited because I handle the development
gotta be one word.
Yeah.
How do you want people to feel? How do you want people to feel when they see your product, when they try your product, when they use your product? How do you want them to feel?
It's very different because people that want to buy my product are not my customers. The people that are they are my
So you're selling the technology, not the product.
no, we are not my we are not my
Okay. So how do you want businesses who buy your technology to feel?
Either we need to implement our technology.
We can go with either. We can go with either. I was just wondering if there was a word that was more like, like, do you want them to feel sophisticated? Do you want them to feel, I just, maybe it would be a word, more about the businesses that I wanted. Do you want them to feel, I'm thinking the word better, but not better. And what I mean by better is I'm doing good, you know? What's the word for that? There's a word for it. Doing good, philanthropy.
Yeah.
But something more environmental. Like, do you want them to feel better on the inside for buying that technology, for knowing you're having a positive impact? That's where your brand promotion is going to come from.
That's the thing. Obviously, everyone cares about the environment, but it's not only selling point when it comes to.
So what's your
selling here about the revenue? We care about how much money we're.
You're being honest.
It's really difficult. Being honest.
Okay, well, keep what you've got so far, but you can always come back to it. And honestly, the way this works for me and my clients is, we don't do this in 90 minutes. Like, this takes several sessions and a couple of weeks before we've nailed it down. Really got to like put lots of ideas out. Post-its will be your best friend. And, you know, eventually you'll get there. And also use like, is it thesaurus.com where you can find like synonyms, and I literally start going down the rabbit hole with that. You can also prompt ChatGPT to help you out, like get some things from there as well. All right, does anyone want to share any more, or do you want to wait for the next exercise and the rest of you will share on the next exercise? Because the next exercise is right now. Yeah, okay. Let's look at next your brand emotion, and that's the last piece on that top row. You really got ahead. You were supposed to do the brand promise, and now we'll do the fresh.
That's one of the things, yeah.
It's
That
fine.
was, that was
Sorry. Yeah, I know. Next we'll be flipping the paper around and just mapping out the whole journey. Okay, so think about your brand emotion, and then just coming back to what we were just talking about. Your brand emotion basically comes from, how do I want people to feel? And they can be businesses. How do I want them to feel when they are doing business with me, thinking about my product? If you're selling to like, if you're like wholesale and then they've got their customers, how do you want them to feel when they take your product and then sell it on to somebody? That's where your brand emotion is going to come from. How do you want people to feel? If we go back to the examples that I shared earlier with Apple, innovation, you know, it's a combination of things. Like with Apple, you feel more creative. You actually definitely feel very, you feel sophisticated, you know, you do. But you can have so many words, and so in the end, they picked innovation because all of those things tie into the fact that their products are innovative.
Go
And,
Samsung.
sorry?
Go Samsung.
No, never.
Well, it's up to you, I'm a Samsung guy.
Really?
Apple, they only chasing your money, everything you have to pay for.
But it's so
Samsung,
nicely
nothing.
connected. It
Yeah.
makes life so
When
easy.
actually Samsung is way more connected than Apple if you experience Samsung. I have a phone I bought when I came to the Emirates 2012. Till today it's working. With all updates. Now with your Apple, if you're 3 years behind, now you're done, you need to buy a new phone.
It's because Apple keeps innovating.
Yeah,
No, No,
And,
that's true.
and talking about the Samsung store, you know, Play Store, it's free, everything is free. You never
Yeah.
pay.
Because Apple
Apple
already,
also, Apple,
what is coming 10 years later, they are just not giving it to you.
Yeah.
Same thing like Microsoft Windows, Windows 9, 10, 11. Do you think that they don't know about 20? They already know. They just give
Samsung
it
will never
things
charge,
like this.
never charge, even the support, when you call them, when you take your phone somewhere.
They don't charge you at the Genius Bar.
When you go to Apple,
Yeah, they don't.
what they call it, you
The
have to have
Genius
some
Bar.
kind of, no, you have to have some warranty.
Yeah, Apple Care is an insurance.
Yeah, the Apple Care,
Oh,
there is
that's
no
an insurance.
Apple Care, you have to pay for it with Samsung. You just take it, if it's their defect, they change it and they, actually, even if you're gonna pay for it, the price of the parts, which is the same parts like Apple, is like fifth of what Apple's gonna actually charge you to change, for example, a screen, a brand new Samsung screen will not exceed $300. In Apple, you need to throw the phone and buy a new one if you're gonna change.
So what's Samsung's brand emotion?
Well, it's accessibility, I think, to everybody. Everybody can use it, simplify it, easy, affordable.
Okay,
That's
and
the
I
most
think this is a
important
great
thing.
example, because if you look at the way you described Samsung to us,
Technology,
it was about
innovation.
accessibility. But the way we talk about Apple is about the innovation behind it. These two brands are actually delivering their brand innovation. They are.
That's why Samsung actually exceeded Apple. If Trump wouldn't
No, it's
actually,
because of Asia.
Samsung, even in the US, exceeded Apple sales. And then Huawei came and destroyed both. Then Trump came and told you, you know what, no more Huawei. We're not gonna let you on the market. That tells you something. Even the American people prefer Samsung and Huawei over Apple.
I'm gonna research that. Okay, so we're looking at the brand emotion. So
I'm just kidding. So,
No, I am actually going to research it. I want to know. But so when it comes to the brand emotion, I know that you don't work with the end customer, but think about your partner. Think about where you want to meet those partners, how you want to strike business deals with them, how you want to get them on board, whether you're selling something with them, you're collaborating with them. Think about how you want them to feel throughout your whole experience that you're providing from beginning to end. You can write down for now a few brand emotions and then let's just share a few of those. You don't have to narrow it down right now because I think these things are better if you just let it marinate for a bit and then you'll get to the answer eventually. And today we won't do this, but eventually what you want to do is what I showed you in the examples. How does that brand emotion link to each one of your values? Okay, go on. Did you have something you wanted to ask?
I know, so
Are you sure?
one of the most important things that when you're, let's say in your B2B business, along your value chain, there are different type of stakeholders that you're dealing with. Let's say you start with B2B, eventually it starts to get to B2G, and you find that see, how do you carry this particular value promise and emotion across the value chain? Do you only concentrate on the person who is paying you for your services, or is it like every stakeholder needs to feel the same?
So this is the difficult part, but the way I would do it is if we look at the beginning of your value chain where you are working directly with businesses and compare that to the end of the value chain, you have no control over how those businesses then interact with customers. The only thing that you can control, if we think about the only things that you can control, are the product that started off here that still ended up over here. So when it comes to your brand emotion, the values, the promise that you're making, you've got to make sure that that is reflected all in the actual product, so that all the way at the end, it still gets delivered. So if we take innovation as, let's say, a brand emotion, I might be super innovative in how I develop my product and service, but the product and service itself may not be very innovative itself. It can be something fairly basic. And in that case, my brand emotion should not be innovation, because the only people experiencing innovation will probably be at the beginning of that value chain. When I'm talking to my business part, like the customer that is a business, like my B2B, And they are excited because of the way I'm producing whatever it is that I'm producing that I am then giving them. Or if they're buying the tech off of me, or if I'm, I don't know, selling like, I don't think anyone's going to be selling their IP, but like anything like that. Really?
Really?
Why would you do that?
So we would license our IP.
Okay, licensing.
Licensing.
Yes. So all of that works really well in the B2B space because they're feeling that innovation, which is your brand emotion. But if your end product is something really simple and doesn't have the product itself is not innovative, it's just the vehicle to get there was innovative, then no one in the customer end is going to feel innovation. Therefore, that is not what you should be thinking about for your brand emotion.
Run that back in.
So if my end product, let's say I'm creating Post-it notes, right? Like, there are two ways to do this. I can either create this exact format of a Post-it note, but do it in a much better way, faster, quicker, cheaper, etc. But the end customer will never know. But the businesses that are buying this from me, or the distributors that I'm going to, or whoever, who ends up buying this, they're excited because maybe their profit margins are now much bigger because they can sell it at the same price because it's the same product, but because of the innovative way I'm producing it, they now have large, I can pass on that gain of the profit margins to them. Anything like that, they're feeling it. But is the end customer feeling when I give them this Post-it note? No. But if this looks different, if it was a Post-it note that never lost its stickiness, that you could pull off and it never bends up, now, if innovation is my emotion, I can use it in my B2B discussions with, we have technology that produces this, we are constantly refining the tech, these will last forever, profit margins are bigger, it's cheaper, it's faster, it's whatever. And for the customer, I can still use innovation because for them, it's a different type of Post-it note. Is that making sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is where, if you're looking across your entire value chain, you may choose, especially today, because obviously we're going to move on, so there isn't that much time, but if you have different brand emotions across that value chain, write them all down, and then come back and look at, are there any similarities across these? Is there something across the business, particularly if we're thinking about the way your product is experienced all the way at the end with the customer? Is there a way I can describe that my initial business, customers, and then the customers will feel the same thing? That's what we want to get to. Okay. Does anybody have a brand emotion they'd like to share?
Yeah, quality.
Quality. Okay. So quality is I very strongly believe in quality. And tell me a little bit about your business and how quality is.
We are a solar panel cleaning solution robotics.
Nice. Okay.
So mainly the quality is number one. You have to have the bidden, and it's not about the price, not about it's just the quality itself and the innovation.
Right.
How to create that what creates continuous, let's say, improvement and utilization about the full power of that solar farm that you actually spend money on.
Right.
To build.
Perfect. So quality is something I so strongly believe in quality that I can't even tell you. If somebody comes to me with subpar quality, it's the one thing that we're just no, it doesn't work for me. And I say this from the perspective of the people I work with. If I'm working with somebody, like a client or a supplier, if the quality is not there, nothing will piss me off more than that. But when
And
it
we
comes
don't
to,
work with anybody who is looking for a commercial product.
yes,
No.
yes, exactly.
That's the way it is.
And this is the great thing about defining these elements around your brand. It makes decision making very easy. It makes it very easy eventually when you expand and now you've either got teams across the world, you've gone global, or if you're licensing or franchising your business, it's very easy for other people who are not the founder to be able to make decisions because they know what's most important to us is quality. So if I'm talking to a supplier and the quality is not there, the answer is no. If I'm talking about, changing my supply chain for a particular product, like a raw material or something that's going to go into the product, the quality is not there, I know the answer is no. If I'm trying to cut cost, I know that the last thing, and I would never do this, is compromise on the quality. It gives direction. And if you recall in the beginning of the workshop, I did tell you, once you know what your brand is, you get a lot of direction. It makes decision making so much easier. You know what you're anchoring back to. So, okay, that is a very, very good example. I love that. Anyone else want to share a brand emotion?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we are a sustainability management platform which helps in building transparency as well as risk managing along your complete sustainability project that you're running. What our brand emotion is confidence and trust. Because we're more focused on B2B and B2G at the moment,
Yeah.
so building confidence and trust is the most important emotion for us.
Okay, excellent. And so, again, I'll give you some parallel examples. Confidence and trust. If we're thinking about different touch points, like with the people who eventually will be, who will end up being your customers, like the businesses, right? Confidence and trust is built off of people believing you are knowledgeable, you're the expert, you are reliable, and all of those things, we can build that into your customer experience. So when we talk about things like you're knowledgeable and you know what you're talking about, you're the expert, that's definitely going to impact things that you put on your websites, any spokespeople you have for the business, where they are showing up, what they're talking about, what your marketing content looks like. When we talk about reliable, because that also builds confidence and trust, right? We're talking about reliable. We can have operational things that then get put into place across the customer experience around turnaround times and how data is shared, maybe how contracts are shared. So again, once you know what your business stands for, which is your brand, you can start making operational decisions very easily. Marketing, operations, even strategic decisions, they become super simple because you have that one definition. This is what we're about. Does that make sense? Okay, I'm just gonna take a quick look at the time. When did we start? We started after 11:30, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to share anything?
Basically, in our case, it is mainly,
What's the business first?
so we are providing software and hardware solutions to waste and recycling
Okay.
industry.
Okay.
So there it's mainly about reliability.
Mm-hmm.
Quality is there, but people want it to be there for 10 years or 8 years.
Yeah.
So reliability and simplicity,
Okay.
because that industry is very simple, I mean, old,
Yeah.
old fashioned.
And your brand emotion could very easily be that as well. Or, again, Google it, go for the synonyms, find a way to you might find a word that more accurately brings the two words together. And again, for me, once you know that you want it to be simple, now we're talking about simplicity everywhere. You were talking earlier about, right, but my customer is actually a business, right? So simplicity in the procurement process or the contracting process. I think about lots of businesses that I've worked with who will say things like, we are very customer centric, we want to expand, we want to scale, we want to grow the business, but then none of the operations are in place for that. And if that's what they're going for, then operationally those have not been fulfilled. And again, coming back to what I said all the way at the beginning about my particular niche, the brand and the business alignment. How you want to be perceived, is it how you're delivering the things in your business? So for you, the simplicity and what was the other word? Reliability will have huge impacts on how you present your solution. Again, there's a lot of touch points, online and offline. If you have any offline touch points, but where you are presenting your solution, talking about your solution. A lot of people, I don't think this is very common anymore, but if you think back about 10 years, people thought the way to make themselves look smart was to make things look complicated. Use big words, talk on and on about something. I'm the complete opposite. I will show up and make everything look like it's super simple. Why? Because again, I want you to feel like I'm your partner. You don't sit with your business partner and he sounds like a professor and you don't understand what he's saying. You're actually with your partner, you're usually on the same wavelength, there's a lot of give and take, you understand each other, you build together. So for me, which will be the same for you, making things very easy to understand from beginning to end, making the process of working with the business that you're working with. You might have situations where you'll be doing some like after sales support. Again, how easy is it to book that? How quickly can you get there? Those are the things you want to be working on if those are your brand promotions. Okay, excellent. We are going to move on. And the last piece before we talk about the actual customer journey is your differentiator. Now, I love talking about differentiation. Again, brand has a huge impact on your differentiator. And although your businesses are very innovative, there are definitely not just direct competitors in the market, but there are alternative solutions in the market. My alternative solution to solar panels is just plain old electricity that comes from the government, right? Like I have other, so when it comes to looking at who your competitors for your product are, you also have to look at what other options do they have that are not providing the exact same product solution that I'm providing. That's really important. But when it comes to looking at your differentiator, you can have differentiator that comes from anywhere. So it can come from your actual product, because you could have like a super innovative product that nobody else has created. Things like, when the telephone was created or the radio was created, it was actually the product that was the big differentiator. It can also be in the way that you engage. So there are several businesses that are known for just how their I don't mean service from like a post service, but just engaging with them is different to how it normally is. So it can come from the way you're actually delivering your services. It can be something like a business model, and I'm going to give you an example of a business model. It can also be a target audience. Like if you take your business, for example, you could, this is not what you're doing, but you could be providing solar panels to a specific demographic that has no access to solar panels, and nobody else is in that market, nobody else is doing it because maybe you've cracked some sort of solution of how you're going to get it there, build it there, do something which everybody else in the solar panel industry couldn't figure out. It was way too costly, market demand was low, but you figured that out.
We clean it.
Sorry? Oh, you clean it. Yes, you're cleaning it, right. But my point here is it could have...
But you're right, absolutely, you're right.
So you could have a differentiator that's just based on the target audience. Like I serve this underserved market. It could be the skills and the experience that you bring. I have a client who is in the F&B industry and wants to start a business. We've sort of started it, it's launched a little bit, but he's kind of put it on pause for a little while. We haven't been growing it, so I won't say what it is. But his expertise in the F&B industry makes a huge impact on this other business that is not F&B focused. But because he has that expertise, he's more trustworthy in this other space, right? So you could also be taking skills and expertise from other places and coming forth and saying, I'm able to do this better than my competitors because I actually have this experience that nobody else has. That could also be something. Business model, it's one of the harder ones, but probably the hardest one. But if you can find a way to innovate around your business model, that's going to change and everything for you. And that will be your big differentiator because it will impact so many things. And I have a business model example coming up. And then of course, price or value for money. And this is more about like, I found a way to make this super scalable. So I can keep the price down, and you're gonna get the value for money with a lower price, and nobody else was able to figure that out. So that's my differentiator. But let me give you some examples. Shopify. Do we all know Shopify? Shopify made it really, really easy for to create a website, didn't know how to create any sort of like checkout processes. I think Shopify also has email marketing integrated into here. Like they literally created everything in one easy to use, drop and drag, like super simple way for anybody who wanted to start a business and do it online and build everything that they want. After Shopify, yes, there were a bunch of others that like started popping up on the market. But pre-Shopify, it was literally just WordPress, which is what I use. But yeah, I don't really use Shopify. But it made it super simple. That was their differentiator. Salesforce, they really changed the CRM landscape. Pre-Salesforce, things were very fragmented. We didn't have a cloud-based solution. You didn't have access to see your data through so many different slices and dices. Your sales people out in the field couldn't just hold up a tablet and be able to see all the data that they needed to about the person that they were talking to. They really changed everything. And yes, again, since then, there have also been other
CRMs.
competitors that have come into the market. But again, Salesforce is still leading, you know, so they've managed to really carve their space out. Warby Parker is one of my favorite examples of having a differentiator in an industry that you wouldn't think you would have the opportunity to have such a great differentiator. Does anyone know Warby Parker? They make glasses. And what they realized was when it came to eyewear, the typical business model was B2B. You made your glasses and you sold them to companies that had eyewear like distribution, right? And so then it would go into like shops and stuff. Nobody had their own eyewear store. Warby Parker was the first one to go B2C. And not only did they go B2C, their prices are lower. They have excellent like customer service. Like I think you can order online 3 or 5 glasses. They'll send it to you. You can try it on. You can send them back. They've just completely changed eyewear. We don't have a Warby Parker here, I don't, but it's in the U.S. So they have a completely different business model to other eyewear companies, and they've managed to figure out how to make that work for them. So the last exercise on that first side of the page, we're going to write down just a few quick answers. Who are your competitors? Remember, they don't have to be a direct competitor offering a very similar product. It can be an alternative solution that your customer may choose, right? And then what do they offer? Maybe write down a few things that they do really well. If you have an idea of what they don't do well, jot those down so you don't forget them. And then, how is what you're doing different? You can leave the last bit for now. If you can't think of a one statement kind of sum up of all of this, you can do that later. But basically, that's what we're looking for. Who are your competitors? What are they offering? What is what you're doing different? I would have gone into. Do you all know this Cirque du Soleil Blue Ocean strategy story? Are you familiar with that? I'll try and sum it up in a couple of minutes. Do you all know Cirque du Soleil? Yeah? Cirque du Soleil is, it is not really a circus, because there are no animals. It's a show. It's performers, and we have one here in Dubai. They have them around the world. It is expensive, and just really mind-blowing what these performers can do. So it's a whole show, okay? Cirque du Soleil started because it was at a time when actually circuses were, something that everybody was going to. And there were 2 monopolies in the circus industry. One was Ringling Brothers, and the other one was Barnum and something, I don't remember. But anyway, there was a second one. And the guys from Cirque du Soleil wanted to create something that was not going to compete directly with the circus industry, but they were in that industry and they wanted to do something similar. So what they did is they literally started flipping everything around. Circuses are super cheap, so they are very expensive. Circuses are known for their circus music. You know, any circus you go to, it's the same music. They have like a massive orchestra.
They take a theme always, they create the show
Yeah.
on the theme.
And circuses use animals, they have no animals. It's a zero animal show, it's all about people and their performers. Circuses are for children, these are for actually, adults with money. Like, it is a little expensive. Circuses, except for circus, you would associate certain types of food, snacking, unhealthy stuff. Nope, Cirque du Soleil has a full menu, drinks, everything. Like, it is nice eating. Circuses, the like tent, all of that. Nope, this is a full, like the one they have here is right next to Emirates Holidays. Yeah, yes, I'll have tour. Like, it is a huge building, like they built it all, like it doesn't move, that's what it is. So the idea there was they didn't have just one differentiator, but it was essentially, it's their product, right? Their entire product was highly differentiated. Across every single part of their product, they changed what was normal in the market to what they were delivering. So that was their huge differentiator. They came onto the market, and it's not that they were stealing the circus customers, it's that they just carved out a whole new space for themselves. So basically, this is the whole idea behind Blue Ocean strategy. Normally, the way I would do this is we would look at each competitor, find those things, price, customers, what goes into their offer. So if you want to take a little bit more time later on, you can also definitely create almost like a table, write down your competitors, put down a few like criteria you're looking at, and start comparing them to see where your product or service is different. For now, I'm going to leave you to just do this in the next few minutes. So identify a few competitors. What do they offer? What is what you're doing different? And can you sum it up in one sentence? And then after this, I promise we're moving on to the Sharjah campaign. This is all the prep. Anyone else want to share?
Yeah.
Yes, go
okay.
ahead.
My competitor is China and India.
Two countries,
Yeah.
yes.
But basically what they provide, either they provide with cleaning or dry cleaning. I combine both, plus I have a three-stage thing where I take the water out. Beyond that, I want to provide dust analytics on what's happening. So as I mentioned, it's automated and it's IoT based and we use AI.
Okay.
So it moves by its own. So beyond that, we reduce the cost by actually developing a health scanning for these panels to identify if there is anything happening, to give you a report and to actually escalate a process
Mhm.
that you need to change something before the whole thing will burn.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's basically how it is. Now, in one sentence, I provide you with peace of mind.
Okay, yes, that's true. Now, what I would recommend you do later on is, although your competitors all come from China and India, eventually,
What's your opinion?
okay. So,
Pure, 100%.
really, manufactured in Jordan, amazing. Okay, so when you look at these Chinese and Indian alternatives, do you know the actual businesses that they are, like the names of their?
You know, there is somebody who's manufacturing something next week which will be a different name. You know what they
Okay.
do? They you know, these brushes,
Yeah,
they just create, you know, they bring a motor, they put a brush on a motor and they
right.
create this metal, you know, thing.
Like a
and
car
they
wash.
just- yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, same, exactly like car
Okay.
wash. So,
Right.
they're not, basically, the domain I'm working in,
Mm-hmm.
it's not, that maybe there is one European competitor, but again, they don't provide.
Yeah.
So,
That's amazing. Okay, cool, very good. Anyone else here want to share? Go ahead.
So on this one, sir.
Yeah.
So yeah, our competitors is mainly in Europe.
Mhm.
There used to be one in US, but they got acquired.
Okay.
So US is pretty open. So out of the 4 competitors, yes, so mostly are offering software solutions,
Mhm.
even though the whole end-to-end is hardware-enabled software.
Yeah.
So mostly are offering software solutions. Sometimes they buy also from us the hardware. That
Okay.
used to be the case like 2 years back, but now we just stopped that to control the bit of the market, right?
Okay.
And position ourselves also at the end-to-end, so you take it or you take it kind of. So our offering is indeed, it's a reliable hardware-enabled software.
Mhm.
So I don't supply hardware anymore to all of these guys also. So that is a bit important. And
Yeah.
secondly, I think we are the only one who did the big projects like bigger volumes, bigger numbers. Because the current competitors are good for smaller volumes, because they all come from the software industry.
Right.
So on the hardware side, if they do not get the right product from the Chinese or somebody, then they get stuck. So that's how. So we are not able to position it properly yet on the market, and this is what we are looking for. How to create the a niche out of it.
Yes.
Because till now, of course, we need to run the business as a bootstrap business. So meaning that we do not have yet investors that we brought it in.
Right.
So what happened is that we try to sell whatever you can sell, right, every month. But now slowly we are moving to a space where we are saying you take either a full solution or not, but we will not sell a lower volume package.
Yes. Okay. Okay, great. All right, anyone else want to go? Or do you want to wait for the next exercise and you'll share on the next one? Next one? Okay. All right, so we're going to move on to mapping your customer journey. You can flip your page to the other side. I'm going to walk you through what we're looking to do here. Essentially, and I think, yes, I've put a quick example of like an online business on the next slide, but first I'm going to explain to you how this works. Pick one path, and if you're B2B, think about the B2B journey from awareness, when those businesses first find out about you, how are they finding out about you, their consideration phase, when they're really getting to know a little bit about your business, they're kind of categorizing you, you're good, you're not good, how are you faring against other competitors in the market, the decision phase when it comes to them doing either the outreach or you doing the outreach, you're asking whether you want to work together, whether they want to buy your product or service, whatever it is, but any type of decision making here where like the actual purchase is made, the service that is, or consuming the product or anything like that, the service that is delivered, anything that is within the like consumption side, and then anything post-service, customer service, customer recovery, loyalty, anything like that. Now, you may not have enough boxes, but you can do something a little bit high level now and then do a more detailed one later. But initially what you're going to do is just write down, pick one path. Obviously, I'm going to show you that there can be multiple paths coming into this, but pick one path, write out one journey, and then we're going to look at things from the perspective of that customer, and it can be a business. At each one of these stages, where they are, how do you think they would rate you on like a 5 to 1 scale? So 5 would be really happy, 1 is not happy at all. Just put like a little X or something. And then what we're going to look at is, in this phase, what is their expectation? What thoughts are they having? Or what feelings are they having? And I'll, again, give you some examples. So it can be, for example, like if we're talking about the consideration phase, maybe they're thinking to themselves like, I really wish I didn't have to get my solar panels cleaned every 2 months, you know? Like maybe that's what they're thinking, and now they're out there and they're looking for something that's going to help them not have to do that because they want something thorough, or they don't want to replace those solar panels, which they've been doing. Whatever it is, like what are they thinking? What are they expecting? What are they feeling? And then you may not have all this data yet, but what is their actual experience? In real life, what was that experience like for them? And if you don't have this yet, that's fine, you can always add it on later, but that's what we're going to do. So you're gonna fill everything up until here, you're gonna leave the notes and ideas separate, but as an example, here's a very simplified example. Awareness. Somebody finds somebody's business on Instagram, starts consuming some of the Instagram content. Their thoughts, do I care about this? Is it relevant? It could be, you know, is this enjoyable? You know, is this filling my time nicely? Whatever it is, but is this relevant to me? Their experience, yeah, the content resonates, it's engaging. So really simple, right? Consideration, maybe they start following that Instagram account. Maybe they sign up for a master class that like business is offering. Decision, maybe they go to a sales page, they purchase the program, they actually go through the whole program. Maybe after the program's done, they actually want additional support, and maybe they refer somebody to also purchase from this business. So I've just kind of followed like a typical online business, like a service-based business kind of path. And then I've put down a few things here. Thoughts, expectations, feelings. From the beginning, is this relevant to me? Maybe after a little while, am I learning anything new? Is this going to help me? Is this what I want or need? In the purchase side, like, I hope this is gonna be straightforward. Like, the last thing anybody wants is a purchase, like, the path to be super difficult. Going through the program, am I getting what I need out of this? You know, will any additional support be good? And maybe I know someone who can benefit from this. And then again, the experience, I've made them all positive, but they may not necessarily be positive. And what I wanted to show you was, although on your paper you have one nice line, it doesn't have to be that way. And you may end up with something, I haven't filled it all out, but an online touch point, an offline touch point, which may be like an actual store, a physical location, maybe another offline touch point that's like a call center. And they can all come in and maybe they get redirected to the website, maybe from there they can go down several paths. Like, you may have something that's a little bit messier like this, which is totally fine. And in your own time, what I would do is take each one of boxes and follow the same sort of like questions that you're filling out. But for now, let's just pick one. Like maybe just keep it online, keep it straightforward, and just follow one path. So what you're going to do is pick that one path as much as you can and write down some steps that will take somebody from first finding you, being aware of your business, all the way through to having made a purchase, you've given them the service, and then maybe there's some like post-service work that you've done for them. And so what you're going to do is you're going to fill out all the steps, and then think about what you think they would rate that experience as on this like 1 to 5 scale. Actually it's probably easier if you do this step first. So before you rate it, what their expectations, thoughts, and feelings might be, and then what their actual experience would be, and then rate it. So leave the rating to be done as the last step. So this is going to take a little bit of time. I'll give you about 10 minutes to fill it out. Do you have any questions before you start? You look scared.
Actually, they need more explanation.
Sorry? You want to see the example? Yeah. Okay. Let's go through
You
it.
combine the customer journey in one sheet, and those guys need actually a full workshop
Yeah.
to understand.
Well, I really negotiated hard to have 90 minutes. So, but I still couldn't squeeze it all in. But for sure, you can always put something down just to get you started, and then they'll add everything else that they need later on. What's up?
See that everybody.
Yeah, I know. Everyone's like, how do I put this all in one
No,
thing?
so the thing is, I tell you, when you say the expectation starts from mile that is something very subjective. So I tell you why, especially when it comes to sustainability as a business, the expectation that the client has as to what we are delivering, even though it's like said in block letters, this is what I'm delivering, they will still confuse themselves. I'll give you an example. I work with a French I've repeatedly told them 10 times on email them, send them, these block letters are there, and it's still getting confused. And I'm like,
Confused about what?
so what are they expecting? What's the result they're supposed to get? What's the next step? Even after doing so many things, it's still the same with them.
So this is you're talking about like a little piece of one of these, but
Not really, not just one. Let's say it's from the decision
yeah.
until the post-service.
Okay.
That's where things are like shaky.
Okay. So basically, their expectation is to fully understand what the next steps are going to be. That's their expectation, and clearly, it's not being delivered.
Okay, my other folks
That's
do
hard,
understand.
but whatever it is, like there are people who no, let's not say it that way. You just have to make things as easy as possible. It's easy for you to understand because it's your business and you're sitting on the inside looking at the customer and you're like, look, I'm gonna tell you when the next step is coming. But from the customer's perspective, it feels like a black hole.
I hear you. I'm not saying no.
Okay.
But the problem is when I compare them to other clients, based out of Japan,
So there's
Singapore.
just a nightmare client. Okay, no, if it's not happening with all the clients, there's just one.
Yeah, it's the stress.
So don't work anymore.
But you know where the money is, the startups need money.
So actually, if I were in your shoes, what I would do is 2 things. One is find out how other maybe similar businesses or other types of businesses that also have a lot of back and forth with their customers in France are keeping those people, handheld throughout the process.
Oh yes.
So that's the first thing. The second thing is I would sit down with them and be like, what would make this better for you? Like, would you like to have, maybe like what are those, like project management, like,
Okay, Asana, Monday.
it's one of those. And I can just pre-populate it with all the next steps and you'll have all the information there so you know exactly what's coming up and, maybe that's going to make it easier for you, but maybe that's just what they need. And different cultures are very different. Some people need to see what's happening 10 steps from now, and some people are like, look, I've hired you, you're the expert, you tell me what they need to do. But I'm just trusting.
Yeah, I think he just needed a French-speaking guy.
Yes, that is so
Those
true.
guys does not understand English.
And he just
That's
beside
also
you.
true.
I think French-speaking guy, and he is beside you,
There we
and
go.
she is good in French too.
Exactly,
Yeah.
these guys are there, you just take them into a
So
corner.
look at that, we found you all the solutions. But basically, that's what I would do. I would look for, do a little bit of research, scouting around, find French companies, see how they're kind of bridging this gap. And then I would also just speak to these guys and be like, look, we've kind of gone back and forth like a dozen times here. And I just want to make this experience better. Maybe like, what would make it easier? Like,
Oh, yeah.
should I set up the sauna?
By the way, 15 years in French company.
You know what? The best
You didn't
thing
learn
is-
a word of French?
I'm cooking two français.
Oh my God.
I told them that you need to learn English. Come on, move your ass.
I mean, that is easy.
When you're talking about French people, oh my God, I had
No, I was working almost
Okay,
15 years
how's it
with the
going
French-
over on this side?
with the
Do
French
you have
guys.
any
I have a contract with Suez, which
The thing is,
is.
they pay well. There is no for anything. But it's that pain to operate.
long story short, bring your French guy, and let him help you. You will, beyond that, you're wasting your time.
My contract with Suez is 80 page contract for 5 years.
One that they grow from is like close to 90 because we have signature things.
Oh, you put it down there?
It's very good. But a lot of it's
So consideration, I would put this down. And in consideration, I would maybe think about, and this might be helpful for everyone else in the consideration. Consideration is really when they're getting to know you. They haven't yet made a decision that they might actually choose to work with you. They're just getting to know you. It's the dating phase of business. So they are probably visiting your website, if you have social media content, they might be consuming that. They might be, if you do like white papers, they'll be downloading your free white papers. They'll be doing anything that is very low commitment in the consideration phase. Your decision phase is when decisions start getting made. They might reach out for, like a pitch of some sort, and then get you another paper. But that's really when, maybe they've gone in now and they're looking at your prices and they're comparing your prices to your competitors. Decision is when they've decided that you could be the one,
So I have a question.
Yes.
From a very mechanical perspective, we go through this.
Yes.
But what are we trying to get out of this?
So the idea here is what we're looking to do is identify. So in the next exercise, which will be the last one, we're going to look at this and say, okay, my brand emotion was, I'm going to go with easy, like ease of use, like something like that, right? Simplicity.
Meaning whether we have
Yes.
gone through this.
Exactly. So we started off this workshop with me saying you've got to know your brand emotion in order to design a good customer experience. Once we know what your brand emotion is, I'm going to look at this with that lens on. So I'm going to look at this and be like, okay, how simple is it for them to consume my content, for them to then follow me, for them to sign up for a masterclass? How is my emotion, my brand emotion, showing up at every touch point? That's what we want to do. Because typically, actually I'll wait for everyone to finish and then I'll explain this. Okay, yeah, so that's where we're going with this. But first, let's map it all out. Yes. You flipped it over, like you didn't want me to see the answer.
No, I still didn't fit there. I figured that part out.
Yeah.
What I need to figure out is this sort of another concept. So what happens for that is very serious things.
Yes.
Now we've reached to a point where we are able to sum up what we do in sentence because there are two important things we will make two different values, but the same values. Imagine this. So we do the business of making the experience a long project. Risk mitigation steps. So it's not
production of two products.
No, it's just one product. Delivers
And one of them is risk.
transparency,
Okay.
risk.
And the transparency has nothing to do with the risk management?
Absolutely.
So what's the transparency to give them?
So it tells you exactly every activities happening around. That's transparency. What risk mapping does is it takes the data from the data and it's backstage. So you see, there are two different ways.
The transparency shows people what's happening on the ground. But the risk management, they're going to proactively use to manage any risks on the ground.
Mitigate risk. Yes.
Right, but you, okay, so this is one thing to think about. I won't give you the full sentence because obviously that would require a lot of like, you know,
I know.
back and forth. But I would use the risk management as the product, and the thing that differentiates you is that you have this on the ground transparency mapping.
So you're saying it's first party data, risk management.
Say that again.
First party data, risk management.
Yeah, so something like that. Yes, exactly. I mean,
Getting
this,
return.
yeah, you need to like play around with it, but that's how I would use it. Like, your product is the risk management, but what you do very differently is that you have this transparency piece that nobody else has, right? That's your differentiator. That's how I would look at it. And then, because you have that, what is your brand emotion? Maybe it's like a sense of control. Maybe it's a sense of visibility. Maybe
It's
it's
about building confidence. People have
confidence. Yeah, it could be confidence. Could be confidence. I just think control would be more fun for your journey.
Oh,
But it,
yeah.
you know, it could be confidence. You, whatever you choose, you know, what we were just talking about is later on as you go through the customer journey, you want to look at how am I building their confidence, like how am I making them feel confident at each one of these steps.
Yes.
So it could be that.
I'm sorry, what was the word that you used?
I used control or visibility. Like to me, when we're talking about risk management, that's what I want. Like the whole risk aversion, risk aversion to me is about control, right? Like if you're the CEO of a company, you want to know my team has control of this situation because we have a risk management solution in place. You know?
Or able to foresee things before.
Which is where visibility comes from. So I said control and visibility. That's what I would do. And then you can get really creative with how this is delivered in your customer journey.
Security also.
Yeah? Okay. All right, now,
Let's
I do want to wrap this up in the next 10 minutes. So we are going to quickly shuffle along to this last phase. I think a few of you have some steps down, okay? But whether you do or you don't, this is what we're going to end up doing. And we kind of jumped ahead in the conversation right now. We are looking for touch points that are not delivering your brand emotion. So, if my brand emotion was innovative, but I have, for example, if I've done this as like an online journey, my website looks like every other website, right? What's innovative about that, you know? Or if my, so all the way at the beginning when people are arriving, maybe somewhere here in the consideration, they're visiting my website, I'm not really delivering that emotion. I want you to just like mark it. Like this point is where that brand emotion doesn't carry forward. You know, we had like this super fun conversation right now about control and visibility. The way I would look at this is you can think about all the fun ways you can make people feel that control, that visibility, that security as they're going through here. And it can be in the way that you're delivering, because this is an experience, right? So every piece of this is an experience that you're delivering. looking at when they first find you, how do you get them to feel like they're in control? How do you get them to feel that that they're able to see everything? Maybe it's in the if we're talking social media, it's in the way that content is shared. It's maybe in the kind of topics you're talking about. If we're talking about website, probably the way it's presented looks a little bit different than all of your competitors. That makes people feel like I am in control of this, and so on. It's going to go all the way down. We're looking at that brand emotion. The second thing I want you to do is to look at anywhere in here where the experience was subpar. So here I've marked that the experience was subpar, and I put that this was not, maybe here I was at like a 1. So I've like just marked that that's an area I need to look at. I'll give you a couple of examples where breakdowns tend to happen. Huge areas where breakdowns tend to happen are not normally in the beginning. So the breakdowns very often can be in the decision phase during the purchase process. And your purchase process issues can be, if you are B2C, it is how easy it is to make a purchase. So one of the things I absolutely hate as a customer is I'm ready to make a purchase. I just want you to send me a link. Like, let me use my credit card. But I work with people where there's no link. You have to transfer the money to my bank account. Businesses where I had to transfer money to their bank account. How is that acceptable? So for me, that's the first thing. And if their brand emotion was, ease and simplicity, it did not work, The second, so this is normally at like a decision point, and it's usually the purchase point. The second place where you tend to have a breakdown is in the actual servicing. You're delivering your service, it's not going well. Booking the service, the people you send, the communication with customer service as it's ongoing, the type of support that was expected that they didn't get. If you are B2B, we could be just before that talking about the whole contracting and procurement, 3-month procurement process, you don't know what's happening, no one's filling you in, all of that. Those tend to be places where all of these things can break down. And if we're going back to all the things that you guys have picked, these are typical places where you don't want that breakdown to happen. Like, ease and simplicity and the control and visibility, like you don't want that quality, like, you don't want these things to be breaking down. And of course, post-service. So post-service, particularly on the B2B front, if we're talking about control and visibility, like they've made the purchase, they've gotten, the software, it's been handed over to them. Post-service, what are your follow-ups like? Like, do you still reach out to them? Post-service for you, ease and simplicity. Like, we're looking at things like, maybe they get little email reminders about, if you have a pet and you get those reminders about, like, the pet needs to come in.
Eid greeting, Ramadan, dates.
Yes, exactly. Little things that are, so that would work very well for you with the quality, So things that are linked to your brand emotion, those are the places where we're looking for, where is it breaking down? So again, you're going to look at where in the experience did people mark things low, and then you're going to look at that point, and where in the journey is that emotion not really coming through, and then you're going to look at those. So what I want you to do is mark them all in here, so whether it's on the journey or on the scale, and then highlight all of them across the experience at the bottom. So this one highlighted, this one highlighted, this one highlighted, this one highlighted, because it's that experience that we need to change, okay? Right, I see that very few of you have actually written it. You're gonna do it later? Are you okay that you've written a few things? You start again? Oh, wow, okay, well, you're supposed to have to. Yes. is where across this journey do you possibly think, and if you don't have the full journey mapped out, you might just write down a few notes about, look, I need to think about these two areas. Where in the journey is that brand emotion not being delivered? So what was your brand emotion? Eagerness. So you want to bring that sense of excitement into every part of your journey. And, you know, it can be easily done. Very easily done. You know, people want to put some things like pitching, like do really fun, exciting things with your pitches. Your website, social content, really good. Yeah, really, that was a good one to go with. There are lots of ideas. Okay, so does anyone want to share anything or have any questions? Because I think I'll just wrap up then. Are we all good? Do you have a question? You're okay? Question? You're good? Okay. I know that, you know, these things normally take a little bit of time, but essentially I've covered this. What we're looking at doing, what I highlighted on the previous slide, was look at the touch points that are not in line with the brand emotion and which ones have low satisfaction scores, and you're looking for ideas. You have this one line at the bottom where you can just write down a few ideas. Just so you know, normally this exercise, normally we have like A3 papers, we use a whole wall of Post-it notes, like, you know, it does take a lot of space, but this was just, I want to get you started. I just want to get you thinking along the lines of how am I creating that space in the market for myself where I'm going to stand out through the experience I provide, whatever my product is. Okay, that is everything. Thank you, guys. All right, so don't forget our deal. You all have my. Sorry?
We really like the work.
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you.
You can actually reach out to Anchor and be on one of those days when they provide workshops.